Hello everyone, I'm Alfian and today we are going to solve the LeetCode challenge on the challenge number 196 called the delete duplicate emails. And for this particular challenge, we are on an easy difficulty and we are working with the MySQL language operation. If you want to use something else other than MySQL, then go ahead and encourage you to do so. And for this particular challenge, it's all about database management, also for the pandas schema in Python language or the library. And we have the table of person. From this person table, we have two columns. The first one which is the ID, and the second one which is the email. And for the ID is the primary key as usual. And for this table, each row of this table contains an email. The emails will not contain uppercase letters. And we need to write a solution to delete all duplicate emails, keeping only one unique emails with the smallest ID. And for SQL user, please note that we are supposed to write a delete statement and not the select one, because select is not going to work. Let me show you an example using the select everything. Let's say we are selecting everything and showing all of the entries in the person table using from person table, and we can run this and the result will not appear as we wanted, because this particular challenge we are tasked to use a delete query instead of select or showing anything, so the output will be non-affected if we use the select instead of delete. And so that is one thing that we should consider, and we are supposed to write a delete statement not instead of select one. And for pandas, please note that we are supposed to modify person in place. And after running our script, the answers on the person table, the driver will first compile and run our piece of code and then show the person table, and the final order of the person table does not matter. And the result format is in the following example. The first one, which is the person table, for this first state before we delete the entry of the duplicate entry of the table, and we need to delete this entry 3 because entry 3 has the same email as the entry with the ID of 1, so we need to return the least ID possible, only one unique value, which is this John instead of this kind of John. So if we have the same entries of John, and we need to only pick one with the smallest ID possible, which is the ID 1 right here. And for this ID 2, since Bob doesn't have the duplicate of Bob at example.com or the another copy of Bob at example.com, so we are not going to mutate this kind of ID, so we only delete this kind of entry from this row number 3 or ID equals to 3, and then the output state after we delete that entry, we only show the ID 1 and ID 2, so the duplicates will be removed. And for the explanation, John at example.com is repeated 2 times, so we need to keep only the row with the smallest ID, which is only ID 1. And let me visualize this using the SQL drawing, and let me copy the person table. Let's say we have the person table, copy, and then let's go to the SQL drawing, and I'm going to resize this so you can see better. And my approach is consisting of these kind of steps. The first one, which is we need to create a copy of the same table, which is, let's say this one is called P1, which is person 1, you name it, and this one is P2, which is the person 2. The create a virtual copy or the shallow copy of the P1 right here. And the next thing that we should do is I'm going to use a join query or join keyword. So what join does is, by joining the P2 into our P1, join person as P2 and then join person as P2, and then we are going to join P2 into P1 is like an inner join. The approach of using the inner join is using the Cartesian product or cross join, so every possible combination of each entry will be combined into one. So let's say if we have John example.com right here from the left table, then we will create an entry. Let me use smaller arrow, strike width or the stroke width, the smaller arrow, and we need to use the Cartesian product or the every possible combination within the person1 and person2 table. So for the ID1, which is the first entry, john@example.com, then we need to combine with the first ID of from the person2, and also the same thing goes within the next ID, which is on the ID1 with the ID2, on the person1 with the person2, and ID2 and person1 with the ID1. So every possible combination, John example with the Bob example, and then John at example with the John at example with the ID of 3. And then the next one is the Bob example with the ID1, and ID2 with the ID2, and then ID2 with the ID3, and finally the same thing goes within the ID3 with the ID1, ID3 with the ID2, and finally ID3 with the ID3. So all of those possible combinations will be written in this join keyword, and we are using one with 1, and then 1 with 2, then 1 with 3 for every possible combinations, and then the next one should be 2 with 1, 2 with 2, and then finally 2 with 3. And let me use the smaller font. And finally, you guess it, using the 3 with 1, 3 with 2, and finally 3 with 3. And then the next clause after the join should be using the on. Join person as p2, and then on p1.email. We are referring to email since we are trying to remove the duplicate email, so we need to compare the email from the cross join right here on p1 email with the same email on the p2 table or the person2 table, which is the virtual copy from the p1 p2.email. So what it does is filtering out these possible combination from the join, from the bare join right here, only with the same email. Within that statement, p1.email is equals p2.email. So since 1 with 1 is the same, so we are going to filter out 1 with 1, and then 1 with 3, since ID1 with the ID3 has the same email with the john@example.com and then john@example.com. So the next thing that is considered the duplicate is the 2 with 2, since bob@example.com with the bob@example.com. So 2 with 2 will be returned right here with this on statement or the on keyword. And finally 3 with 1, and you guess it, 3 with 3. And then we need to use another step after we are using the join person as p2 on p1.email equals to p2.email, and then finally using the and clause, and p1.id is bigger than p2.id. So what it does is selecting this ID after the same email, and then we add another extra filter that filters out the one that is not the ID is bigger than the p2.id. What it means, like, since this one is considered not bigger, the left hand is not bigger than the right hand, so this one will be removed. 1 with 1 will be removed, 1 with 3 will be removed because 1 is of course lower than 3, 2 with 2 because 2 is the same as 2, not higher than 2. If we use the higher or equals to 2, then we instead use the p1.id and then bigger than or equals with the right chevron or the closing angle brackets with the equal sign. But in this case, I'm going to use just the close angle brackets or the bigger than notation. So since 2 and 2 is the same, then it's not eligible. Since 3 with 1 is eligible, then 3 with 1 will be returned or be filtered after the AND statement right here, and 3 with 3 is not going to be filtered out. And then this AND statement will be placed after the ON statement right here. So join person as p2 will be chained with the on p1.email is equals to the p2.email, and p1.id is higher than p2.id. So within the id of 3 and then 1. So basically we are using the 3 John at example with the 1 John at example. The first one which is on the p1 and the second one which is on the p2. So after we found the duplicates, which is the 3 with 1 right here, then we need to finally use the delete p1. So what it does is we are deleting the p1 table that already selected within this filter with the join person as p2, and then on p1.email with to p2.email and p1 id, as long as p1.id is higher than p2.id, since the answer is id 3 right here. So this id 3 will be used, 3 with the join at example.com will be used as the one entry that is going to be deleted from the p1 table, which is on the person 1 table right here. So since it is already pointing to the id 3 from this filter, using the join on and end, then join at example.com with the id 3 will be removed from the p1 table. And so let's implement this inside of our database challenge, and we can use the delete everything on the p1 from person as p1, since p1 is the first table, and then using the join, if you still remember, join another person, we create a virtual copy of p1 as p2, and then using the on statement on p1.email, we need to match both tables emails within the cross join or the Cartesian product and p2.email, so we only filter the match email from both tables. And then finally using the n, p1.id is higher than p2.id, and we can run this to see if it works. And we have the accepted solution, and we have the match output from the output and the expected output. So let's submit our code to see if it really works. We have runtime of 1 second, and let's run this again, and we still have it is slightly lower runtime than most of the challengers. Okay, so it's better than nothing. Okay, so that's about it. I hope you understand my explanation. If you still understand, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you have any better solutions regarding this challenge, tell us what you think in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.